This is huge for the New York Mets as we have three representatives in the 2025 All-Star Game, two of which are infielders in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, and the other is our closer, Edwin Diaz. Diaz makes it for the third time in his career, second in a Met uniform. Lindor making it for the fifth time in his career, but just the first time for the National League and for the Mets, as his previous four All-Star bids were with Cleveland, and Pete Alonso making it for the fifth time in his career as well, all of which with the Mets as he is a homegrown talent. So congratulations to all three of these guys. We'll talk the statistics today, but this is a piggyback video from yesterday titled "This is Absolutely Ridiculous," where I went over the ridiculous decision to leave Juan Soto out of this and not being named an All-Star for the National League and for the Mets. That's ridiculous. But like I said in that video, I'm going to be positive today on the three guys that did in fact make it, and I'm going to focus on them. We'll talk all about the statistics, we'll congratulate them, and only be here on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. I'll take you through everything, but first I got to take you through some subscribers, and that being that 67.8% of you that watch these videos aren't one. You aren't a subscriber. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here on Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this. As I mentioned in the intro video, the three players for the New York Mets that will be represented in the All-Star Game: shortstop Francisco Lindor, he will be starting. Congratulations to him. First baseman reserve Pete Alonso, and Edwin Diaz, our closer, out of the bullpen. And since Lindor is starting, let's go ahead and start with his statistics. 89 games played is what I want to start with. Now, you may think that's unsubstantial, but there's a reason why I'm saying it and why it's substantial. Because the Mets have played 91 games and Lindor has been a part of 89 of them. That is 97.8%, and he's done it with a broken toe. He has been dealing with a broken toe for weeks, and he is still playing baseball. That goes to show just how incredible Lindor is. He's a team player. He's a leader. He's a captain-like guy. Speaking of which, I really hope that David Wright, in his ceremony, in his Hall of Fame induction for the New York Mets, and also his number retirement, he hands it off to Francisco Lindor. He says, hey, I want the fifth captain in Mets history to be Lindor. That would be awesome. You'll actually see that live if you tune into Mets Digest, as I will be doing a live stream on that day, Saturday, July 19th, for the David Wright ceremony, and of course for the game to follow. So stay tuned for that. But to go back to Francisco Lindor, let's talk about him and how he stacks up against Major League Baseball. 57 runs scored this year. That is good for 14th in the bigs, tied for 12th in the National League. 93 hits, which you also see on your screen, tied for 17th in the National League, and 17 homers, which is tied for 14th in the NL. Now, amongst National League shortstops, he ranks 4th in runs scored, 3rd in hits, and 2nd in home runs. He's also 5th in doubles with 17 to match his home run total, both 17. He also has 49 RBIs, as you see on your screen, which is 3rd in the National League amongst shortstops, 5th in stolen bases with 14. The slugging, which you don't see on your screen, is a .452, which is good for 3rd amongst National League shortstops, and that OPS, which you do see at .785, is 5th amongst NL shortstops. Amongst the National League shortstops, he's also 7th in defensive WAR amongst qualified players with an 0.5. Now, you may look at that and be like, hey, he doesn't really stack up very well. He's not first in anything. Why is he named an All-Star? And let alone, why is he named the starter for the National League? Well, go ahead and check out my video on Thursday, if you haven't already, titled "This is Huge for the Mets," for a little bit more reasoning why. But what I did in that video is I broke down how he was compared to some of the top guys like Elly De La Cruz and CJ Abrams of the Cincinnati Reds and Washington Nationals, respectively. And honestly, they might have deserved it more, but I think the way it worked is because of when the All-Star voting was. Now, keep in mind, Francisco Lindor last year is the perfect example. He finished 2nd in MVP voting to Shohei Ohtani, and he wasn't an All-Star. How? He started off the season really poor. This year, on the other hand, he started off the season fantastic and caught his cold streak in the month of June. Now, why do I say that? Because Phase 1 of All-Star Game voting, which is how the starters, like Lindor, got into it, started on June 4th and ended on June 26th. Well, Lindor was hot all the way up until June 7th after the Mets win against the Colorado Rockies in Denver. His stat line looked great. He was slashing a .289, .360, .498, .358 OPS with 14 homers, 38 RBIs, and 13 stolen bases, putting him on pace for 34 homers, 95 RBIs, and 32 stolen bases. Another 30-30 season to back up last year is what he was on pace for. Then he caught his cold streak. So what I think is that voters voted early, and they said, hey, Lindor's having a great year. Yeah, he's catching a little bit of a cold streak, but he'll get back to Lindor self. We love Lindor. We want Francisco Lindor to be a starter. That's why I believe Lindor was named to the All-Star team and as a starter. Again, that goes to show about fan voting. A lot of people have mixed opinions about fan voting. I, for one, I don't love it personally, but that is how I believe Francisco Lindor got in. I think that's the main reasoning. And we'll see that a little bit later with Pete Alonso and why he wasn't the All-Star starter at first base for the National League and why that is Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers. But for now, let's get Francisco Lindor's reaction. This was in the post-game yesterday when he was asked, what would it mean to you to have company in Atlanta? Well, he says, quote, it'd be fantastic. I know there's going to be a couple of guys here for sure that are going to go. I'm not going to go by myself, and the fans voted for me, which I appreciate. I got nothing but respect and love. But now the players are going to get in tonight, are going to get in through their peers, and that's very special as well. It's a big honor when your colleagues, your peers, they respect you enough to vote for you. That's something very, very cool. So, who are his colleagues that he's going to be with? Well, the first is Pete Alonso. And like I mentioned, Freddie Freeman is starting in the All-Star game. He got more votes than Alonso, although Alonso was considered in the finalists. They ended up going with Freeman. And the reason is, well, he had a really, really hot start to the year, almost like Francisco Lindor, and then started to catch a little bit of a cold streak. Here are these stats. Through the month of May, keep in mind, All-Star Game voting Phase 1 started on the 4th of June, just a couple of days later. Through the month of May, going into June, Freddie Freeman slash 374, 440, 638. Good for a 1.078 OPS with 9 diggers and 38 RBIs. On pace for 25 homers and 106 RBIs. And despite what you see on your screen now and how Alonso is winning in every single category with the exception of stolen bases where they're tied, both are not fast players, and batting average where he's 20 points lower, he is substantially better everywhere. Pete Alonso has been the better player as compared to Freddie Freeman, but again, because Freeman got off to such a hot start and because of when All-Star Game voting is, I believe this is why Freeman is starting as opposed to Alonso. And honestly, same deal with Lindor. I think this is why Lindor is starting as opposed to someone else. Keep in mind, Mookie Betts was the other player that made it for shortstops. I think it should have been De La Cruz or Abrams. But I think that's why Lindor is starting over Betts or maybe Abrams or Ellie De La Cruz. So let's go ahead and talk about Pete Alonso. Let's go into his statistics. He is the only player with 91 games played. That is first in Major League Baseball. He's got 98 hits, which you see on your screen. That is 10th in the majors, 3rd in the National League. 25 doubles, which is 2nd in the bigs and 1st in the National League. 20 homers, 12th in the bigs, 8th in the National League. 73 RBIs, which is 4th in Major League Baseball and 2nd in the NL. That OBP, which you see at 380, 14th in the MLB and 7th in the National League. 543 slugging, which you don't see on your screen, is 12th in the majors and 9th in the NL. And that OPS, which you do see on your screen, is 8th in the majors and 6th in the NL at 923. So Alonso, very, very well deserving. He has definitely been the best first baseman in the National League. But like I said, the reason why Freddie Freeman is starting is probably because of that really, really hot start that he got off to, just like Francisco Lindor. So it kind of washes out. I can't be mad about that. Congratulations to Lindor. Congratulations to Alonso. But let's talk about our last guy here in Edwin Diaz. Again, in that video on Thursday, I talked about Diaz, titled "This is Huge for the Mets." But look at those losses. No losses for Edwin Diaz in addition to 3 wins amongst National League relievers in general. And again, like I mentioned in that video, this includes people who come in just for the 5th inning or just for the 6th or 7th or cleanup guys. As long as you have 20 innings pitched out of the bullpen, you are considered in these statistics. And Edwin Diaz is 9th in reliever ERA and 11th in reliever WHIP. And again, this includes everyone. This isn't just just closers. And Edwin's job is so much more difficult because he is constantly in a pressure situation. He's the closer. His job is to make sure and ensure that the New York Mets win and that they don't blow a lead. So Diaz's pressure situations are so much more difficult than the average reliever, and he's still ranking in the top 10 in big stats like ERA amongst all relievers. Now, amongst the closers. In all of Major League Baseball, he is just second in ERA, but he has more saves than the Chicago Cubs closer in Daniel Palencina, who has 10. Diaz, of course, has 18. He's also second in WHIP, but he is behind Cincinnati Reds' Emilio Pagan, who has 3 blown saves. Diaz just one. He's 18 for 19 on the season. He's having an incredible year, tied for the 8th most saves in the bigs, tied for 4th most in the National League, and the 2nd least blown saves in the National League, of course, with just 1. So Edwin has been absolutely phenomenal. There's no way he wasn't going to make the All-Star team. There's no way Pete Alonso wasn't going to make the All-Star team. And a big congratulations. The fans really showed up for Francisco Lindor, as he will be starting. And again, I'm not going to talk about Juan Soto. Go ahead and watch that video if you want to hear me yell and scream and be really, really upset. But again, staying on the positive track, congratulations to all 3 of these guys. Very, very well deserved. I can't wait to watch them on Tuesday in the All-Star game next Tuesday in Atlanta. So go ahead, go in the comment section down below. Let me know, do you think Alonso should be a starter? Think Lindor should be a starter? Regardless, congratulations to all 3 of these guys. Let me know if for some reason you don't think any of these guys deserve it, or maybe another Met that you think deserves to make the All-Star team. But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in today's video. Thank you so much as always for watching, and let's go Mets!